Custom alerts is one of the coolest ways that you can make your stream stand out and be more personalized to your own liking. In today's video, we are going to show you exactly how to make these and do them quite easily. Let's jump on into it. How's it going, everyone? My bits that you get, etc. Now, there's a few methods that you can do this. You can fully customize this to be whatever you like, and you can make it very personalized. Or if you're looking for an alternative route, something that's a little bit quicker and straight to the point, you can download some awesome presets, and we're going to show you guys how to do both of those in this video. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. So the first thing that you're going to need for your custom alert is a animated emote. Now, this is to fully customize it. If you don't have emotes or you don't have an animated emote, you can take a look at our tutorials where we show an emote artist if you want to go the full customization route. But once you have everything in order, it's time to jump on in how to do this. So simply put, you want to head over to your OBS. Once you're in your OBS, you're going to have a little bit of inception here. You can add it in. From here, you're going to create a new source if it asks you. This is just to make sure the old one is in there. And now you're going to have a bunch of different options. You see donation, merch, share, etc. So you can set this up how you want. I personally take my followers off because third one. We have a donation one. And as you can see, we have ourselves a custom little overlay right here. If this were to end up playing on our stream, if we go onto the test widget and then we head on over to the donation section, we can exactly how to do that customized alert in our other videos. So make sure you go and check it. So if you have anything, all you simply need to do is to basically click on here where it says no media, and you're going to change your media. From here, you can drag and drop any custom animation you have. As you can see, we have quite a lot of different animations. So let's say we were just doing a standard animated emote that we have. So we're going to click on this love emote that we have for the donation, which is fine. Again, you can use whatever you want. You can use the cash, for example, similar to what we had up there. And simply put, you just click on done. Once that is gone, from here, you change the template of who has donated and what amount. You can set the minimum trigger. And there's also animations that ask you how long the animation should be, etc. Things like that. You can customize your font as well to match the colors. For this example, we are doing a donation layout, and then that is pretty much it. You are good to go. And then if you go ahead and test a donation, you can now see we have our little Ari lion, and then we have the text that pops up, and just like that, you have yourself a custom alert. So again, all you realistically need in order to do this is your very own animated emotes. Now again, you don't actually need to have emotes. If you don't have custom emotes, there's tons of things that you can get online. For example, we got this custom bit overlay that you can get. So anytime someone shares some bits, this pops up instead, and it will trigger about how much bits they show you this. You can click on free Twitch alerts. You can go to any of these pages and look for what's available for free. Of course, you can purchase them as well. But once you find that, you can find some animated things, and these are basically going to be your custom alerts. You would have to look around and see which one really matches you. But as you can see here, we have some free to use custom alerts, and this is more of the text ones rather than the animated ones, and it gets the job done. So there you go, my friends. That is how you set up your animated alerts. Quite simple to do. Again, if you have these animations, it's easy to do. You can mess around with the fonts and the settings too. Get it in a nice spot and make everything look good. You can also find some of these free to use online if you're looking for a quicker way of doing this, because in order to animate it, obviously, you need to go into Photoshop or Vegas, whatever you're using, Adobe Premiere Pro, and animate the emotes completely or commission them. I hope this video really did help you guys. And if you're looking for a new video showing you how to animate your emotes or how to get emotes, etc., let me know in the comments down below. But that's gonna do it for us. I'm your host, The King. We'll see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.
Hey, you!
Me?
Yeah, you! Don't you want to play something different?
Bring it up!
Try this?
Yo, nice.
Valorant is a 5 versus 5 shooter where you'll attack or defend strategic points on the map. You'll have pistols, rifles, SMGs, snipers. There are even guns that look like a frickin' dragon! Sorry, you can't have that until after the pistol round. Make your way to one of the objectives and plant the spike. The spike detonates after some time. If you're successful, the round is yours. If the spike is defused, you lose the round.
Let's blow them over.
On my way.
Help!
Here. Enemy spotted.
Watching here. No.
Bunch of guys here.
You should have seen your faces. Yo, Brimstone. You know the drill.
Let's go.
Reloading. Tear them down.
Enemy down.
Yeah. Let's bring it back.
Multiple enemies spotted.
Beat them back.
Your fault.
If you want to grow as a streamer, there are rules. You can't just go live and hope
Booking a family vacation in a Verbo means leaving all the craziness behind. Well, maybe not all of it.
Hello? Okay, good. Sorry about messing things up, but I think I have it fixed. Think is the key word though.
Thomas Anderson. Like many of you, I work with computers, the worlds we build. They also confront us with questions about why we want to choose this or that, why we want to make X instead of Y. Where do ideas of who we are and what we want?
Take a red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Is this real? What is real? How do you define real?
For instance, I'm not even sure why I'm here. I remember waking up and thinking that I'm supposed to come here, that it was important for me to ask people, how do we know what is real? I'm Keanu Reeves. Over 20 years ago, I first played the character Thomas Anderson in the Matrix trilogy. Those films were digital cinema with shots like bullet time. Back then, we talked a lot about where the digital age might take cinema and narrative. In an industry where actors have tried to remain perpetually young, we wondered about digital faces that could become immortal.
Hi.
In a completely digital world.
And what would reality mean when a world we can build feels as real as our own?
Oh, what just happened?
Yeah, this is what they wanted. Said they were fine with your theoretical mumbo jumbo, but they needed some sexy action.
We still got it.
Like riding a bike, they say.
I sometimes miss this version of us.
Me too.
Love this.
Yeah, it's all supposed to be a little unreal.
Word of advice, agents are bad, but whatever you do, stay the hell away from marketing. See you soon.
Shoot the tires. Say no more. Keep them off us. You drive. I'll shoot. Helicopter. We need cover. Hang on. It's supposed to be safer. We got something up. Look out. Hang on. Okay, how about the big gun? Thought you never asked. You boys are gonna get a kick out of this. Coming gun in. Too many of them. You again. Hold steady. Hell yeah.
Yeah, they are.
What are you doing? Time to blow this puppy down.
Uh-huh. Petunia is still doing pretty well. Uh-huh. Oh, they get secondary light. If anything, they usually have a secondary light coming from up here. Which is kind of like a grow light, but really a very faint. But, Mommy, they get double light as well, kind of. Other than my 2 lights. That looks like New York City, really, to me.
Imagine a world where every creator can bring their film and television idea to life in a matter of days. An ecosystem where these ideas are monetized in the universe and the metaverse. Rightstream makes this vision a reality. With a Rightstream launchpad for film and television, creators will connect with a vibrant community that supports their creative projects. Where content can be streamed on the Rightstream app, as well as a way to own and trade film and TV NFTs that have intrinsic value and generate revenues for decades. Setting creativity free.
And sell NFTs in-game, in Blankos.
As the Rightstream team.
I'm a creative at heart, but also I'm passionate about tech. So early career was in technology. A whole string of them, had them on Netflix, Hulu, all the major platforms, nominated for Emmy Awards. And I got involved in blockchain technology around 2017. But actually started dabbling in Bitcoin around 2013. So I've been in this.
Control C, Control V, enter. Good night, Daddy. Huh. Home. Team. Listing. Huh. Quite interesting. Okay.
Explore. Like never before. With Niantic.
Quite interesting. Okay,
Students, welcome to Lesson 4. Today's lesson will comprise of how we acquire, represent, and organize knowledge. Most human cognitive abilities rely on or interact with knowledge. How do people navigate through the world? How do they solve problems, comprehend their surroundings, and on which basis do people make decisions and draw inferences? For all these questions, knowledge, which can be viewed as the mental representation of the world, is part of the answer. Our lesson about knowledge comprises 3 core objectives. Firstly, I will explain to you how you acquire knowledge in the first place. Acquiring knowledge entails cognitive processes as well as practical efforts on your own part. Secondly, I will describe to you how knowledge is represented in your mind. And finally, I will give you an outline on how knowledge is organized in your mind. Let us learn about what we know. The title of today's lesson is Knowledge Acquisition, Representation and Organization. We are going to start with our first core objective, which is finding out how we acquire knowledge. But let's first consider what exactly knowledge is. Before we delve into knowledge acquisition, let me first tell you about the nature of knowledge. There are many formal definitions for knowledge, but knowledge can be explained as a structured collection of information in our brains that we acquire through perception, learning, or reasoning. Do you remember our lessons on perception and memory? If we were not able to perceive and remember, we would not have been able to gain knowledge. We are now starting our lesson with knowledge acquisition. Have you ever wondered how we have gained all the knowledge we have gained up to the present moment? How does a young child grow up to become an individual with extensive knowledge about a wide array of topics? Let's investigate. Before we go into how we acquire knowledge, let me first introduce you to what knowledge acquisition is. Knowledge acquisition is the process of absorbing and storing new information in memory. We have learned in our previous lessons about perception and memory processes. These processes link with knowledge. If we did not go through the perception process and thereby memorizing objects, images, or events, we would not have been able to have acquired knowledge. The success of knowledge acquisition is often measured by how well the information that was absorbed and stored can later be remembered or retrieved from memory. The process of storing and retrieving information depends heavily on the representation and organization of the information. There are 2 types of knowledge that we acquire. Firstly, we acquire declarative knowledge. Declarative knowledge involves knowledge and memory of concepts, facts, data, or episodes. Declarative knowledge can also be referred to as conceptual, propositional, or descriptive knowledge because it is used to describe phenomena in terms of their attributes and how they relate to each other. The second type of knowledge we gain is procedural knowledge. Procedural knowledge refers to the ability to perform various tasks. Knowledge of how to drive a car, solve a multiplication problem, or throw a football are all forms of procedural knowledge, called procedures or productions. Procedural knowledge may begin as declarative knowledge, but becomes more procedural with practice. How does declarative knowledge become procedural knowledge? Think about wanting to learn how to drive a car. You will first learn about the car's keys, whether it's an automatic car or whether you will learn to drive it by engaging the gears manually, how to put the car in reverse, and so forth. This statement is declarative in nature, addressing facts about the car. However, after having driven the car numerous times, the act of driving a car becomes automatic and is completed with little thought. The act of driving a car then becomes procedural knowledge, which can be accessed automatically and it requires little attention. It also tends to be more durable and less susceptible to forgetting than declarative knowledge. So how do we acquire knowledge? As mentioned before, we need perceptual skills as well as memory. Through perceiving events, objects, and persons, and absorbing and storing information in your brain as memory, that memory becomes knowledge. It must be noted, though, that the storing and retrieving of information are dependent on the processes we'll be discussing later in this lesson. These are called knowledge representation and organization. Allow me to provide you with ways in which you can gain more knowledge. So how can you gain more knowledge? If you want to expand your knowledge base, you should do the following. Read newspapers to broaden your general knowledge. Read books about your interests and talk to people and learn from them. Research suggests that talking to other people and getting their views and ideas and knowledge on things help to expand your own knowledge base. Another way is to study things. Do research and study topics that interest you. This leads me to introduce the concept of critical thinking to you. Let me explain this concept to you. If you can improve your critical thinking skills, your knowledge about things and concepts will also improve. So what is critical thinking? It can be defined as the process where we analyze facts and critically consider and think about them in order to form a judgment or opinion for ourselves. It is sometimes referred to as thinking about thinking. You might wonder why I'm now talking about critical thinking and its importance. Well, critical thinking is important because it is universal. It is not specific to any path or profession, and it will always be beneficial to your success. Critical thinking is important for our world economy because our future is so intertwined with technology, information, and innovation. Critical thinking is necessary for our fast-growing economies, solving problems as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Furthermore, critical thinking is said to improve language and presentation skills, and it promotes creativity. It is also very important for self-reflection. Talking about self-reflection, how can self-reflection help us not only with critical thinking, but also with acquiring knowledge? Let's discuss the importance of self-reflection and its relation to critical thinking and knowledge. As a psychology professional, I've consulted with many clients who lack in self-reflection skills. This leads people to almost always blame others for their problems. Successful self-reflection in and of itself helps you gain more knowledge about yourself as a person. It also helps you to identify your own weaknesses, and by identifying them, you can work on them and improve as a human being. Critical thinking acts as a meaningful tool for evaluating ourselves in the ways that are necessary. Therefore, by having critical thinking skills and using them for self-reflection, you will gain more knowledge about yourself as a person, your talents, ambitions, trials and tribulations, and weaknesses. I encourage you to start self-reflecting right away. Will help you gain very valuable insights in terms of how you are positioned in society. Students, you have now learned that knowledge is acquired through cognitive processes such as perception and memory, and it can be expanded by you practically engaging in knowledge acquisition tasks. Our next core objective is the mental representation of knowledge in our minds. Knowledge representation helps us to retrieve memories, information, and ultimately knowledge in an easy, meaningful way when necessary. Before we start with core objective 2, I would like to share a quote with you because I really want you to gain as much information but also fun facts from this course. Let me share another quote with you about knowledge. Albert Einstein once quoted that any fool can know. The point is to understand. Remember when we spoke about memories and learning, I taught you to elaborate on the facts and items that you are learning about. This aids in understanding. It is not helpful to try and gain knowledge when you are failing to understand what you are learning and why you are learning it. When expanding on your knowledge, critically think about it so you can gain greater understanding. In that way, your knowledge will be embedded stronger in your long-term memory. It is now time to investigate and gain an understanding of the mental representation of knowledge. Allow me to provide you with the meaning of mental representation of knowledge on the next slide. The field of cognitive science is very interested to learn about how people keep or represent knowledge in their minds or brains about the external world they live in. However, there is no direct way of observing the ways in which each of us represents knowledge. In such cases where direct methods of studying a phenomenon is unavailable, scientists make use of other study methods. In the case of knowledge representation, there are two main sources for collecting information of how knowledge is represented in our brains. The first method used is standard laboratory experiments, and the second method is neuropsychological studies. When doing experiments, scientists or researchers indirectly study knowledge representation in a laboratory or test setting in terms of how people handle various cognitive tasks that require the manipulation of mentally represented knowledge. When doing neuropsychological studies, researchers either observe how a normal brain responds to various cognitive tasks that involve knowledge representation, or they observe the connections between the various deficits in knowledge representation that are associated with pathologies in the brain. Do you remember declarative and procedural knowledge? We spoke about it in the first part of this lesson. Keep in mind that knowledge representation involves both declarative and procedural knowledge. Declarative knowledge is related to the knowledge about facts, processes, and events, and procedural knowledge is related to operations or procedures that have become relatively automatic in our minds. There are various ways in which scientists and researchers approach the studying of knowledge representation. Some form hypotheses and some develop, present, and test theories. On the following slides, we're going to consider these hypotheses and theories. They include external representations in the forms of pictures and words, mental imagery, the dual code theory, and the propositional theory. When addressing external representations, we distinguish between knowledge being represented in mental pictures versus knowledge being represented in more symbolic forms such as words or propositions. The meaning of the word proposition in the psychological sense includes anything that can either be declared or denied. A proposition should be capable of being either true or false. An example for a proposition is that the United States of America holds a presidential election every 4 years. This is a true statement and it can be declared as a fact. Cognitive psychologists have found that some ideas are better and more easily represented in our minds in pictures and others in words. Take a look at the picture on the slide. You can see a cat that is sitting on a table. In terms of the cat and the table, both pictures and words can be used to describe and understand the concept of the cat and the table. Both the word cat and the picture of the cat explain the idea or mental representation of what a cat is. On the other hand, should you be asked to describe the concept of justice, you might have difficulty describing it in words, but describing it in a picture might be even more difficult. As you can see, in some cases, the knowledge of objects or things are represented in our brains more easily
I can. I probably should.
External representation in the form of words can be referred to as symbolic representations. As we discussed the word cat right now, let's continue doing so. Unlike the picture of a word cat, the word cat is a symbolic representation. This means that the relationship between the word and what it represents is random. There is no relationship between the word cat and an actual cat. Why do we say that? Well, because there is nothing cat-like in the word cat.
Yeah, I know there's nothing cat-like in the word cat. Start. Critical thinking. Yes, it is. Long. Sensory output. Dual code. Different types of memory, short-term and long-term. Mental represents knowledge. Scientists study mental representation of knowledge. Okay. What does it give me as a result? Only one way to find out for me. Really? Three, two, and one. Yes, leave page. 50. Not bad at all.
Well, today's lesson, as promised, we speak to people face to face, on a telephone,
by emailing them, and even on social media. That is all part of written language. This lesson will give you an overview of the properties of language and will conclude with language acquisition. I hope you enjoy the lesson. For this lesson, there are 3 core objectives. Firstly, I shall explain language to